Pete was too bad.
Yeah, so it's like any other.
It was one of the better ones, I thought. So
There better be an answer this time.
It brought up the September 11th attacks, and that didn't go very well for Hillary Clinton. So.
Yeah. No. Actually, I didn't watch that. Was that in a recent debate or?
Yeah, the Democratic debate. Yeah, she brought up 9/11 as a reason why she didn't do something or another, and a lot of people are saying it was a low blow. Yeah. Sorry, bad joke.
No, that's okay. Side note: my boss had lunch with Ben Carson the other day, and I was like, "How'd that go?" I was like intrigued about.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, I really like Ben Carson. How was lunch with him? And so he told me a little bit about that. But
it wasn't at a Popeye's Chicken, was it?
No.
Okay, good.
Okay, so what do you guys think? We're live. Okay, good. What do you guys think it would be like to work at TSA as a TSA agent?
Oh, intimidating.
Horrible.
Yeah.
It would be horrible.
Yep, really intimidating, especially if you had to search people completely.
It would be stressful.
I think it'd be hard dealing with like patients or people that like want to get to their flight, want to get out, type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, and people, they're in a hurry. They're often late, and they're just kind of mean and nasty. And
yeah,
I just.
And you might get that one like pleasant person, like every 24 people, you might get that one who's like hi and like actually pleasant to deal with.
Right.
But for the most part, they're probably. This job, right? TSA agent. Before.
No.
So, is there anything you would like about the job? Like, what are your likes and what would your likes and dislikes be if you were in that position? I think we've kind of already. Go ahead.
I had a friend who used to work she wasn't a TSA agent. She was higher up, and she could fly anywhere she wanted. All she had to do was pay for gas of the airplane.
Oh, wow.
So she traveled the world. And she'd go and have lunch somewhere and then fly back home, and all she had to do, I think it was like $100 or something like that to fly to Rome, because all she had to do was pay for the gas.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm like, that's not fair. So that would be a huge perk for me.
Yeah, definitely. Travel.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we used to travel a lot because my husband used to have flight benefits with with his jobs that he did, and it was very difficult when the kids were little and we would fly. I'd take them places, and oftentimes it was just me who was doing it because my husband had to work. And I would get so frustrated with TSA because after 9/11, and nobody knew what was going on. The regulations changed all the time for what you had to do to go through security. And here I am, a single mom traveling with 4 and then later 5 kids, and then they would want my kids to take off their shoes. Or that we would be selected.
You're like, do you know how long that takes?
I know, right? Or we'd be selected for extra screening, and I'm thinking, we are airline employees. Why are you selecting us for extra screening?
That's the perfect cover.
Yeah, like if you trust enough to employ these people at your airport, but you are then suggesting that they could be suspect, it's like, are you serious?
Well, part of it is because when you fly standby, because that's what you have to do for your benefits.
Yeah.
But they're last-minute tickets essentially, and so that's what they were looking for: people who made last-minute reservations, who had last-minute tickets. And
Got
And
it.
I'm just like, really? I am the last person who's going to blow this airplane up.
Yeah.
But then, like a couple months later, we'd fly and there'd be no issues. They changed the rules where kids didn't have to take off their shoes. And,
Yeah.
I think that they had a hard time as well keeping up with the different regulations. And didn't we talk about this with Southwest? Did we have that case study in this class?
I don't
Southwest
remember
Airlines?
anything with Southwest.
so.
I remember Southwest being mentioned, but it was something about how they treat their employees or something, or
You know,
Okay,
that might have
so
been it.
it might have been for a different class last semester
oh, okay.
that we read about Southwest, and because it talked about the grounding of planes on 9/11 and all the changes that Southwest had to do and how they couldn't even keep up because every day there'd be a whole list of new policies and regulations from the FAA as to how they were supposed to deal with their passengers, and it became a huge task just trying to stay on top of all the regulations.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So
I know,
if the airlines can't do it, then I can imagine TSA agents also were having quite a time initially getting things.
It's like 1 minute, okay, you can travel with a 1 ounce bottle of fluids, but it's got to be in this baggie. No, it's got to be in this. Oh, that's the thing that drove me the craziest was like my personal toiletries they're throwing in the garbage because they're over the limit.
Well, and sometimes it wasn't even that. Sometimes it was you didn't have those toiletries in a Ziploc bag, in a quart-sized Ziploc bag. Now, we flew out of Cincinnati all the time. That's where we were living when we really used our benefits, and they were very strict about this. Well, you'd fly out of Salt Lake, they would have TSA agents. No, they would have them standing there with quart-sized bags for you to put your stuff into. Instead of Cincinnati, they're like, "Oh, sorry, you don't have it. Toss it."
Wow.
Yeah. So every
airport was different.
Exactly.
Well, I had a friend who came to visit. Her friend's mother came to visit, and when she got home, she opened up her purse and realized there was her knife that she used to cut up her apple before she flew out to Philadelphia. So this knife stayed in her purse the flight there and the flight back, and it was never caught.
Oh my gosh.
That's
I'm
crazy.
like, well, that makes me feel safe.
I smuggled fruit seeds from England when I got home from my mission.
Oh, you rebel, you.
How dare you?
Yeah, I wanted to grow my own parsnips.
Wow. Nice.
How did that work out?
So, what would you do
Go ahead.
if you were, or let me reword this. What should O'Reilly do about Sanchez? And why? What?
Sorry, you got really garbled there, Kim. Leslie.
Yeah.
You got really garbled. So you said what would you do about Sanchez, and then we lost the last half of it.
Yeah.
Okay. To answer this question, what do you do with Sanchez, and explain why? Explain your. Am I cutting out?
You are.
Well, so I think you're asking if we were in O'Reilly's position, what would we do about Sanchez and why? Is that what you're asking?
I think that.
Yeah. Christy, can I use your room? Sorry, my room's up. Okay. Let's try this again. Yeah. What would you do about Sanchez? What should O'Reilly do about Sanchez, and what's your reasoning?
Are we following the discipline without punishment, or are we following what we think the rules should be?
There's no real specific at this point in juncture. We'll talk about the discipline without punishment in a minute. But like, just in general, what should she do? What should O'Reilly do about Sanchez?
Well, I think since it's his first like infraction, I don't know if that's even the right word, I would just like, say like if that happens again, you're gone, type of thing. But I mean, I realize it's a serious mistake. I don't know. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. He hadn't really had. It had been 2 years since he had any infractions. But using his cell phone was clearly against TSA policy. So,
yeah,
I don't know necessarily that he should be fired right away. But there's always probation, and it just seems like there's always other steps that need to happen before you get to the firing.
Yeah, I agree. Matt, you want to chime in?
No. I mean, it was really tough. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think they should take a look at the case, look at this case by case, and see that it was one-time mistake, and he's normally very reliable and very dedicated to his job. I think if somebody was showing a history of this kind of behavior, maybe it would be a huge sign, but he's pretty dedicated. I don't know, that's just what I thought, but maybe I'm being too optimistic. I mean, it is kind of an important position, I mean, one mistake could kill a couple hundred people.
True.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn.
Well, I was gonna say, in the reading, I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off, but in the reading, when you're talking about Sanchez, it says that although the incident was serious, Sanchez was not just an employee. He had that certain moxie that made him magical at those checkpoints. Working side by side at the screening station with a dozen or so of his peers, he was a great model for how to get the work done. So I mean, he was a good employee, and I mean, he did his job. He just made one mistake, which is a pretty big thing when you work for an airline.
I had to look up the definition for moxie.
That's important. Yeah.
That's funny.
So a couple thoughts came to mind for me was like, I understand that it's a serious offense, like if you make that kind of breach, but that's why there's so many levels of TSA, is because if one person doesn't catch it, the next person might, or whatever. There's so many layers of security because they have to make room for human error. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I just thought that was kind of something to consider.
So you feel like he shouldn't be held as responsible because there are systems. Oh, go ahead.
No, you finish your question and I'll answer it.
Oh, okay. So if systems have been put in place to expect almost that he may screw up and then he does, should that be forgiven then?
Based on the fact that he has been such a diligent employee who does take his job seriously, like this is one offense. Now, it did say that he had breached before, right? But it didn't say in what ways, right? Am I right?
No, it didn't say that he breached before. It said that he had another issue 2 years ago.
Another issue. Okay, I didn't really specify what that issue was, though I don't recall. But it should still be met with seriousness and with some disciplinary action or some more additional training or whatever. But yeah, I do think there has to be that room for error because we're human. There's people who might be tired, or there has to be room to make a tiny error on occasion.
Well,
and
just think
so
how many
there are
firings
those
there would
layers. What's that?
Just think how many firings there would be. If every little mistake, like pretty soon, yeah, they wouldn't have anybody, you know, like.
Yeah. Because everybody's capable of an error, so you're right. Like, there has to be a little bit of room, but I don't know. I think like additional training, because even though he knows better, he knows not to be on his cell phone, but maybe he needs to revisit that training again and go over those policies again to remind him that he probably shouldn't even have his cell phone on his person at, unless it's a TSA like walkie-talkie or whatever.
What if his wife's pregnant and about to have a baby?
Then they need to see about somebody else's care, like, like assign somebody else to check on the wife while he's on the clock or something. I don't know, but you're right.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Go ahead, Melanie.
It did say that if it was an emergency and they had permission from their supervisor, then they could make a personal phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that's the key word, emergency.
Right, and checking to make sure that her homework was done was certainly not an emergency.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a big test tomorrow. Just
so just a couple questions just to get us thinking about the situation. What if he were to stay on? What do you think the other TSOs will think?
To be completely honest, I don't think they would. They would think it's fair game at this point, which would mean firing him would make an example out of him. But they might. I know I've been in situations where, we're getting into people's Verizon accounts all the time at work, and if we don't make sure that when we're done we log out, that could leave person's sensitive information out in the open. And I've had reps that have worked for me who, for one reason or another, have left very important information that they've printed from a customer's account just out in the open. And I could have fired them like right on the spot, but if you just show how important it is not to make those kind of mistakes and leave them around, you'd probably get some sympathy from other coworkers and maybe even some coaching from other employees. So I don't know, maybe that's what they would think.
Right.
Is a discipline without punishment approach, the DWP approach, is that appropriate in this case?
I think so.
Yeah.
I almost want to take the opposite stance just because everybody's the same.
You almost want it, but do you want to?
Not really.
Okay. I agree. I think it's appropriate in this case. Would you say that it's time for Sanchez to take a paid decision-making day? Is it come to that level where he needs to take a day off to think if he really wants to be here, take this seriously?
That could kind of send the same message as if you were going to fire him, because it could show other people that it could make people understand the weight of the mistake he made, I guess, or make him understand. I don't know.
If it's a slight.
Well, it could also be. That decision-making day, that was step 4. Mm-hmm. I don't know that you need to jump right to step 4.
Yeah.
But, that's, you got to go through the other steps first.
Have you guys been in a situation with your employer where you kind of made a mistake, but was forgiven of, something that might have been kind of serious?
I was. So when I was a CNA, there was I probably told you this story before. there was a pretty heavier set lady we had to take care of, and she wanted to lay her feet off the bed. And the bed she was on was like a really fancy like air mattress. And so I swung her around, and I was going to let her feet hang, and the nurse came in, and she just like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, she wanted to hang her feet out, and she grabbed this lady's feet and like whipped her back in the bed, which this nurse was like 5'2", so I'm shocked she could even shift the person. So she like laid the person in bed, and she dragged me up the hall, and she laid into me. Like, I've never been yelled at so bad. But because the thing is what I didn't understand is with this woman's weight, with her being on the bed like that, she could have slid right off the bed, which could have broke her hip, it could have caused all sorts of injury, and the fact of us getting her back into bed would have taken, like a handful of aides, with a Hoyer lift even to get her back in bed. I mean, later we were able to work it out, but I don't know. I get yelled at, but
well,
I don't know if that answered your question. Sorry.
I don't know. I was just curious.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I've certainly made mistakes and I've had to be corrected. They weren't like huge errors, but I see how they could cost my boss like a business if I make a huge error or something. So.
Yeah, we once left our back door unlocked all night at a Verizon store I worked at.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And luckily it's in Rexburg. Yeah, luckily it's in Rexburg where they're like,
not that many burglaries.
Yeah, but like there were three of us that closed that night.
I'm curious what happened to the person who did not lock it. Like what was?
Well, there were all three of us, so we all three would have been held accountable if anything had happened. And
so it didn't really fall on one person's shoulders. It was just like, oh shoot, we shouldn't do that again.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I'll say one thing: I've never done it again. So.
Yeah. Triple check it.
Yeah.
So, would it be appropriate to punish Sanchez to send a message to the airports, the public, and the other TSOs, even if the punishment wouldn't improve Sanchez's performance?
I don't think he really had poor performance, though. I don't know how bad it would actually affect his performance if you were to be really disciplinary on him.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an irresponsible assumption to make that firing him would send some sort of strong message, and that it would be a good thing to do. There would be a way for him to be reprimanded, keep his job, and then everybody understand moving forward that this isn't something that we do or should allow. I don't know.
Well, here's what what I want to know is how many other employees were using or have been using their cell phones while on the job, because a company may have the policy of no cell phones, but if everybody is doing it and the policy isn't enforced, then there has to be some kind of company-wide crackdown on it, and you can't make one person the example.
Yeah, it's kind of like everybody speeding on the freeway, and then the cop chooses that one person.
Right.
You're just going with the flow. It's not going to change anything.
Yeah.
That happened to my mother-in-law. She got pulled over, and the guy was like, "You're the only one that pulled over. Of all the other people are speeding." But.
Jeez.
So we can all agree, or I think we all agree at this point that he shouldn't be fired. So if no one thinks he should be fired, what would it have taken to fire him? What did he have to have done to have fired? To be fired?
I think a history of of not being competent would cause a manager to want to fire him. At least I think.
A more serious offense than a cell phone violation.
Or maybe if the repercussions of that his neglectfulness led to, you know, something larger.
Something more severe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like
it's almost
somebody went through that shouldn't have been let through, or you know.
Yeah, it's almost like he got lucky because he did nothing worse, you know, happened. But if he had done the very same thing, you know, he was only on the call for, you know, 30 seconds or a minute with his daughter, and something worse had happened in that time, then it kind of changes things, huh?
Yeah, it does. He got lucky.
He did get lucky. So let's see, what is this? Sanchez's negligence in this case resulted in a 45-minute closure to the terminal, significant travel delays across the country, and embarrassment to the airport TSA. How bad would it have to be to have been fired? So Melanie, you mentioned like if it was a more serious offense, but like what kind of a example do you have in mind, like how bad would it have been? And that brings us to the question which we just mentioned. Does the severity of the consequences make a difference if it is the result of the same behavior?
Does the severity of the consequences make it the same?
Like if a terrorist had gotten on the plane or something, and they found someone that had wires strapped to their person, you know what I mean? Like while he was on the cell phone versus the guy who got through with the blue bag that was harmless.
Well, that's a tough question.
It is a tough question.
Man. It's like the potential for something really bad is still there. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, yeah, that's a tough call.
You know, people make stupid mistakes all the time. And, you know, unfortunately, that person who went through with the bag, you know, people get impatient and they look for opportunities. And regardless of what was in the bag or wasn't in the bag, you know, he's the one who should also have, you know, some culpability.
You're talking about Sanchez?
Well, no, the passenger.
Oh, the guy that got through.
Yeah, the guy that got through. You know, there's got to be, I don't know. It's just a tough situation.
Yeah, but because there's no way to regulate him or really, you know, there's no way to discipline him because he's not employed there and that such. But you're right, like he's just as responsible for being careless, you know. I don't know. But I think it is a difficult thing, kind of like Matt said. It's like if something worse were to have happened, that's when action usually takes place, is when something severe happens. Like it takes kind of that act of terrorism for people to go, whoa, now we have to change all these policies, you know, because people don't usually change policies. Like if it's broke, or if it's not broken, don't fix it. But then when something severe happens, they have to go and reevaluate and change things again, you know. So
yeah, and that's not really a way to operate, because then it's where the people setting the policies aren't in control. The people exploiting the policies are now in control, because we're having to play catch up to them rather than be preemptive.
Yeah.
And you know, that really throws a kink in him keeping his job or not. I don't know. I'm starting to like rethink my position.
I know. I don't even know what my position is, because you're right. Like this can go with a slap on the wrist because nobody's lives were at stake. It cost a little bit of time and embarrassment, but they can, you know, do some retraining and, you know, even, let's say, even send him home for the day or whatever if they wanted to. But if it had been if it had escalated into a more severe problem, I don't know. So
Very bad.
I'm sure he would have gotten fired. If it had escalated into a more severe problem, I'm sure they would have just fired him on the spot for being on his cell phone. Don't you think? If they found a guy that had a bomb strapped to him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of think they would just fire Sanchez. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I agree. They wouldn't even make an example. That's just like you should have done better, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Let's see. So, was the security breach entirely Sanchez's fault?
No. I don't think it was entirely his fault.
Well, because I mean, he still got past the metal detectors, didn't he?
No, because he ran in the exit.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, he ran in through the exit.
Isn't that what it
Because he was
was?
late for his plane.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on, sorry, I'm trying to read it real quickly.
However, in a situation, so it was on page 6. Yeah, so page 6, the very first full paragraph. The phone call only lasted a few minutes. It was just long enough to distract him. He never saw the man run into the sterile area of the terminal past his exit station. So I assumed that it was, you know, when you're leaving the terminal, like to go to the bag claim. But I thought that there were alarms and stuff too that go off if you go against the flow.
But I think when they said his exit station, it was just the exit portion of where Sanchez was stationed. It wasn't.
That's what I thought.
It wasn't the actual exit of the airport, because at that point you're leaving the airport. They're not concerned with security there. Is that what you're saying?
So you know, no. You know when you go through the security checkpoint, and so you know most of it is set up with the X-ray machines and this and that, and so everybody who's going into the terminal, where the actual gates are, have to go through that. And then when you come off of the plane, you cross through the same area, but on the, you know, it's like right next to all the X-rays.
Yeah.
That's the exit from the gate area into like the unsecured, the ticket counters and the.
I see what you're saying, but my interpretation was that, like, say he's at a podium and there's like the winding like line, you know, that you go zigzag through, and then you're at the podium and you get whatever checked, you get your documents checked or whatever. My interpretation was that the exit of his station, so like say he's at the podium, anything after the podium would be like the exit of his station, and now he's into somebody else's station, like the conveyor belt where you put your baggage on the, you know, so
but he didn't even do that. He didn't even go through the X-ray.
Yeah, I guess I'm not really clear.
I don't know.
Because it didn't say that, you know, because if it would have gone through, you know, if he was sitting at the podium checking IDs and checking tickets, but it didn't say to that he went through another station. I mean, you cannot get through once you're back in that X-ray station. There's nowhere you can go. You can't run through.
Yeah.
So it would have to be that other area.
Yeah, because what you know, to agree with Melanie, it says he never even saw him go through that area. You know, even past the thing. So I think Melanie's right in saying that he actually went up through the exit because he didn't even see him go through the sterile area, which I'm assuming is where the X-rays and everything like that would be. So.
Okay. So
I mean, that's my assumption. So.
What could TSA have done to contribute? Like, in what ways did TSA, other than Sanchez, like contribute to the breach, and what could they have done differently to prevent that situation from happening?
Well, so like I had said, in other airports that I've been in, they have like sirens that go off. If you enter the exit, the sirens go off.
Oh.
And so if the airport would have been set up with those sensors, then, the guy would have been, surely that would have gotten his attention a lot quicker, because he was going against the flow of, you have most people going out one way, and that's not an issue, but when you go the other way, that's when they go off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I've seen it happen.
Or maybe you should have the spinners that only spin one way.
Like for your tires, and don't back up.
No, like if you,
Like
if you ever go like
oh, the spinners, yeah.
You can go in one way, but you can't go back to the other way. So.
Yeah, the turnstile. That's what they call it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, but this one has bars, so
Okay.
you literally can't go through it.
Oh yeah, got it. Let's see. How do TSA's hiring practices contribute or hurt its mission? I don't.
Well, I think that they pay very low.
Yeah.
For such a
For
high
what-
security, high stressful
Yes.
job, yeah.
I mean, 25,000 to 35,000. That's crazy. That's nothing.
Yeah.
For the responsibility that these people have, yeah.
I agree.
Do you want to hear the mission? I looked it up.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So the mission is to protect the nation's transportation systems to ensure freedom of movement for people and commerce. Their vision is to provide the most effective transportation security in the most efficient way as a high-performance counterterrorism organization. So this is more important than football players, but
Right.
Football players get millions of dollars.
Exactly.
TSA workers just save lives. That's all.
Yeah, and it's yeah, so they're hardcore.
Very.
Yeah, they should definitely get higher pay. Anything else other than pay? That was a great point, by the way, Melanie. Any other ways that their hiring practices contribute or hurt their mission?
Well, I thought I was reading somewhere that they hired like younger people. Maybe I'm wrong. That like hired people like right out of high school or
Out of
something
high
like that.
school, or like
but
a
I
high
can't
school
find
diploma
it though.
or 1 year of experience of something.
Yes,
Oh.
something like that.
Well, it talked about that the initial people who signed up to do TSA after 9/11, that they were very committed to, the vision and committed to keeping us safe. And the other people, the next group that came in were using it as a stepping stone to a better career. And so it wasn't necessarily that they were hiring people straight out of high school, but you had two different levels of commitment. And, sure, any job that pays $25,000 to $35,000 a year, I'm sorry, but that's a stepping stone job. That is not a career.
Yeah, that's at or below the poverty line, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that 25,000 is below the poverty.
Oh, it's 20,000, right? 20,000 is, I think, the poverty line.
Oh, is it?
When I think about it. But do you guys know if TSA agents, if every, it's been a while since I've been at an airport, but does every step of the TSA process, are all the agents carrying firearms?
No, they do not carry firearms.
I've
not
never
allowed
seen
to.
them.
So
I've
do
never
you,
seen firearms.
does that hinder or I don't know, what do you think about that?
No, the only thing is you worry about someone being faster or quicker than them when it comes to grabbing their gun. So it's the only thing I worry about.
That's
that could be
true,
a police
yeah.
officer too. I was thinking, if you have all those people going through the detection, I don't know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then here you are, you're unarmed, and you're going through, and do you trust those TSA workers? I mean, they're not they're not trained military, or they're not, like, do you trust them to have a gun and you're strictly not allowed to have a gun? I mean, I don't know. I think it would cause a lot of upset with just passengers.
For them to carry?
For them to carry. I think they would feel more threatened than safe if the TSAs carried. But then again, I don't know. That's just my first instinct, my first gut reaction.
Well, you would assume that if they were carrying, they had received the proper training.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when it comes to guns, like, I mean, I've normally spent my life like kind of a gun supporter, but I'm in a weird place with guns these days. But like, I would think that if there was an appropriate unit of firearms, it might be, somebody well trained that's in an airport. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not really airports that are getting shot up anyway, is it? I mean.
No.
No.
Yeah.
So if you guys can come up with a percentage, I want you to give me a number. Like, what percentage of the breach was Sanchez's fault, and what percentage of the breach was TSA's fault? So if you could try to divide that up in your mind, and each of you come up with a...
I would say it's probably, 80% Sanchez, because he was stationed. It was his job to keep track of what it is. But I do think that there are other measures that could have been taken, because what if in a different situation he wasn't on the phone, but he was dealing with, another passenger or something that was coming through the door, and someone saw the opportunity, saw he was distracted, and decided to do the same thing, dart in the exit. So
That's a good point.
I think that there's just other measures that could have been taken to help prevent distraction, the same type of thing at the exit.
Remind me again what his actual title is. Is it TSA?
No,
or
he's
TSO?
a TSO. Yeah.
Okay.
Just TSO.
Okay. Because I was going to say, depending upon what his title was, it definitely changed the percentage. Because if his title was like an LTSO or an STSO, that would, make it, that there's other people in the way. But no, I mean, I completely agree with you, Melanie, that there could be another, circumstances besides, him being on the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'd really change the percentage much, maybe 75-25, but, I really don't have much more reason.
Yeah, how about you, Matt?
Yeah, I was thinking 75-25,
Yeah.
So, which is why he, I guess, should keep his job.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. All right. What's the time? What are we at? Okay, got 10 more minutes left.
10 minutes.
I guess we can.
Well, I want to, are we done with this discussion? Because I've got a little bit of information from our last meeting, or from the class meeting.
We're almost done. It wants me to have you role play someone. Well, because you guys know how much you love role playing, right?
Sure.
Mina O'Reilly. And Matt, it says a guy has to play Ludo Sanchez. So Matt, you're Ludo Sanchez.
do it.
And Melanie, I'll go ahead and assign you Mina O'Reilly.
What's my motivation? I want to keep my job, right?
Do your best to select people who will take these roles. Okay, good. Okay, ask the other team members to observe. So Kim, observe and see how well O'Reilly does. Okay.
Great. I wanted to be the man with the blue bag, but okay. Just kidding.
I know. Huh? O'Reilly, this is the moment when Sanchez is showing up for work, and O'Reilly needs to tell him what her decision is, and then you guys have to act out the role play. So, so Sanchez, you show up for work. and go. Go ahead when you're ready.
You don't mind if I clock in, do you?
Sure, go ahead and clock in, but I do want to speak with you for a little bit regarding the incident you go out to your station.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me clock in then. Okay. What would you like to discuss about it?
So what I would like to know, if you understand our policy regarding cell phones. Do you have any questions regarding our cell phone policy here?
I don't think I would have any questions about it. I just really needed to take that call. It was very important.
Okay.
And if I didn't mean to break any rules or overstep any bounds, I was being a little too careless, I think. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal.
So we are very pleased with your performance overall. However, this incident could potentially have been dangerous and life-threatening for several people.
Uh-oh.
And, so I'm stuck in a place here where I either have to, I have to decide what to do about this. And I hate to lose you as an employee. I realize that, overall your performance has been great. It's been a couple years since we've had to sit down and have a little discussion. And I really would like you to stay on our team. And I just need to get a recommitment from you that you will follow all rules, that your attention to the details will be 110%.
Yes.
Can you recommit to being a very observant and powerful member of our team?
Yes, I can definitely commit to that. I just bought a house and I need a job. So I will do everything I need to do to make sure that I stay professional.
Great.
Thank you for correcting me.
I appreciate your recommitment to the cause.
All right.
Awesome, you guys. Good job.
Oh, I gotta take this. Hold on, sorry. No,
Wait,
sorry,
are you still in your role play?
Are you in role play?
Fired.
I was in role play, yes.
Yeah.
What about that commitment?
That just doesn't work for me.
Oh, you guys are funny. That was great. You guys are great at that. So, observers, did you notice? What did you notice, good and or bad? Or let's just go with good. What did you notice that was good about their interaction and the situation at hand?
Well, I was following that discipline without permission or punishment. Wow. That Melanie was talking, and I was kind of going through because she started out with like some positives, and then she gave feedback, and then it says the formal reminder 1, and it says a manager clarify expectations, make sure your employee understands them and his or her responsibility to meet them. And I kind of thought, she was talking to him, she was like, you understand, this is what we're expecting of you now. This is, what you're agreeing to do. So the only thing is I would maybe, is say like, if this commitment can't be followed, this could be the repercussions that could happen. Not like this will be but this, very much could be. I don't know, maybe it shouldn't be could, maybe it should be yes, this is what will happen. I don't know. I've never been a boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't really let me sit and stew about it.
You're right.
Yeah.
Talked about, making sure that he understood the policy and he got a chance to explain that he understands, because that was part of that disciplinary thing, which is, your employees have to know what's expected of them, and then she commented on how he's been a wonderful employee.
Yeah.
Has a good track record thus far. And you already contributed what you would have done differently, which was you said
Discuss.
sorry,
like
my mind just went like.
Well, I was just saying, do you like discuss what would happen
ahead.
if he didn't? You know, follow the
Oh, if he
commitment
didn't,
that he
yeah.
agreed to. Yeah. Like,
What
if this happens again, I'm gonna slap your wrist.
Yeah, and even just to add just to the more seriousness of it, I would have him go through a training, like a training again of,
Yes.
drill it in his head that there's no cell phone usage. So if that means you need to go sit through another orientation where you go through policies, then so be it. But I think like that kind of, the pound it into his head.
Yeah, and then you also want to have like a formal write-up, something that's documented.
Actually, in that, didn't it say
Yeah.
not to do that?
Not do
really?
what?
Not for the first offense, not to do a
For the
formal
first
write-up?
offense, you're right.
Really?
Because when they
Okay.
have to sign something, it makes it like feel.
Yeah.
They usually don't want to sign it anyway.
Well, okay, so no, it says then fill out reminder 1 form for HR.
Oh, okay.
But they don't necessarily have to sign it. I don't think. I think
No.
as long as you document
No, it's just HR.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so the informed performance improved discussion, that's also, written record in HR file. So I think the only thing that's not is this the positive context, positive reinforcement. Which Melanie did, where she said that he was a good employee and, good track record.
Yeah, acknowledge the good behaviors.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so just so we can wrap up, there's a few more questions, but I'm kind of going to skip towards the end. So everyone agrees that he shouldn't get fired, and that it should come with warning and should be taken seriously. So what happened with Sanchez is he got a warning and he was not fired.
Woo, we know the answer.
However, listen to this. 2 months later, he caused another serious breach.
Sanchez.
Oh man.
That cell phone, man.
And then it says, what would you do now? And then, what does this case teach us about discipline? But it doesn't say what the breach was. It just says he caused another serious breach. So I don't know if it's cell phone related or what, but
yeah, that's hard because it really depends on the circumstance.
After a breach,
I think.
Let's role play it. Please don't fire me.
Off with your head.
Well, and you know what? It says, what would you do now? But it doesn't say what the breach was, so it's really kind of hard for us to assess like what the breach was. I think we need more information than that, but it sounds like this would be the kind of disciplinary where he's sent home and he needs to think about whether he really wants this job, or if it was so severe he might just be fired. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah. Well, because no one wants to have that on their, on their shoulders or their mind for the rest of their life. That because of one little infraction that they did, it caused a terrorist to get on a plane or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say he's gone. He's gone.
He's gone. Okay, so just the final wrap up. What's the most important thing you guys learned from this case?
Stay off your cell phone.
Seriously.
Yep, and no suspicious behaviors when going through customs, because you'll go through a lot faster.
We've all blue bags.
Yeah, really.
That there's no, and really that there's no clear-cut answer as, the best way to handle something. Yeah. There's just so many ifs, ands, and buts that you really have to assess each situation on its own merits.
I agree. You gotta discern based on the situation or the evidence of the situation.
Right.
All right. How would you guys rate the overall discussion today from 0 to 10?
An 11.
Good job.
I I give it
Stop that, Matt. I got an 11. No, I'm just kidding.
fine. I give it 3 smiley faces from my iPhone.
Nice.
No smiling pile of poop.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
Good job. So,
All right,
which
guys.
one of us submitted the paper?
I submitted it.
Any details there?
So, this is what he said. Excellent paper, Kim and group, well organized, interesting, love the TED reference, and strong intro and conclusion. Please make sure this feedback will, please make sure to share this feedback with your group. The only thing is, and you guys probably see this, is the only spots we were docked is we missed 2 points on the paper. This paper includes thoughtful, detailed analysis of the most important problems and solutions with clear applications with content studied in class to date. And I think we missed that same thing last time.
Okay.
But we only missed 1 point on it.
But
Maybe
you know
I'm
what?
wrong.
I'm good missing those 2 points.
Yeah.
You know,
Like-
We don't want to make everybody look too bad.
I know.
Well-
I was like, that's darn near perfect. I don't even care.
Well,
about
I
2
was just
points.
saying, I think we actually got, because no one gets 100% on these. At least no one has the last 2 papers. And from what it looks like, I think we may have been the only one to get a 98, unless I'm wrong.
Wow.
Wow.
Awesome.
Go
Yeah,
team.
I mean, it looks like most everyone else got like a 96. So,
Good job.
yeah.
Cool.
Well, I mean, like editing that paper, I was really impressed with what you guys wrote. So,
Oh, thanks.
Well, cool.
Very good. Okay, so has everybody had 2 turns presenting now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you knew this or not, that once you have written 2 of the leader papers, you don't have to write any more.
What?
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, really. So Kim, you'll write your second paper tonight.
No, I already wrote my second paper. It's Leslie.
Oh, sorry, Leslie.
Oh, yeah.
You'll write your second paper on this discussion, and then if you have another turn as a leader, you don't have to write another paper.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
so we'll still continue to lead, but we don't have to write up on it.
Correct. Correct.
Score!
I know, right?
That's awesome.
Christmas
So,
comes early.
Yep. So you have to
Seriously.
make sure that whatever, that you led 2 discussions and written 2 papers. After that, we just still take turns leading, but we don't have to write the papers. Okay?
Okay.
So that's information number 1 I have for you.
Was that from his video on Thursday?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So information point number 2 is our doohickeys paper that is due next week has been extended to the following Monday at 6 a.m.
Oh, because next week is
Yay.
Thanksgiving. I didn't
Yes.
think about that.
However, because it's due at 6 a.m.,
Yeah.
I think we should just try and still get it done.
For Saturday. Try
Right,
to still
because
shoot for Saturday.
I don't know about you, but I don't do homework on Sunday because that's
don't
like the
either.
one day that I'm not doing anything.
That's
Yeah.
how I am too.
And so I don't
Wish I had
want
that luxury.
I'm not opposed to doing it
Each
on
their
Sunday,
own.
but I'm sure we can finish it by Saturday so that we don't have to do it Sunday because
Right.
I would love to not worry about it.
Yeah. And Matt, you're editing this time around, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if we have it to you by Saturday, can you have it in by 6 a.m. on Monday?
Definitely.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
I look
So-
forward to reading it.
Have
Oh.
we assigned who's writing what?
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm running on compensation and benefits, and I told you guys I'd have all 4 solutions, and I only have 2, so I will get the other 2. I'm sorry, it's been a hard week. I've had health issues. So.
Oh, that's okay. I guess I don't know what I'm writing on, and I haven't.
So Leslie, you're writing on what we talked about this week. You're writing on
okay.
wages and
disciplinary.
Yeah.
Discipline.
and hour
Okay.
laws, and then I have got labor something next week that I'll be
Okay.
writing on.
Do you want me to tell you what it is now?
I think it's labor organization.
Hold on, it's opening up. I'll tell you. Excuse me. Okay, it doesn't want to open up. Okay, yours is organized labor.
Organized labor. Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, and then Matt's editing and submitting.
Yes.
So
Got
so Melanie, going back to the writing discussion, so we just like do we even have to open up and say I've already done 2,
No.
I don't have to write anything for that, just leave it blank?
You just leave it blank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey, that's
Just-
great. You don't have to write a paper
right.
next week. Sweet.
Yeah. So just
All
make
right.
sure that you submit 2-liter papers.
Yeah.
And once you've submitted 2-liter papers, you don't submit anymore.
That's awesome.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think all of us have done it twice now. Because Leslie
Yeah.
was the last one to do it. So.
I think there are groups that are bigger though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some that they have like 7 members.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like smaller groups.
But
Okay, cool.
and that's all the information I have for you guys tonight,
Great.
based on the meeting on Thursday.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So.
All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. Did we start a Google Doc already?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. But we'll get one out.
If you want, or okay.
Yeah, you want to do that, Matthew?
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay,
Sounds
so we'll look for it the next day or 2 and then go from there. So,
All right.
Have a good week, ladies.
okay.
Yeah.
You
Bye.
too.
You as well.
Have a good night, you guys.
All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.